Mi gente, my people. Uh, so today I've been kind of thinking about it and, giving some thoughts to really how blessed my life has been. Uh, all the opportunities that God has given me in my short life, 65 years. Because I was thinking that I really have lived different lives, different uh, different roles. And you know, sometimes we don't think about it. Why how life evolves for us. And me growing up in the mountains of El Salvador and not knowing what my life was going to be, Civil War getting started. I mean, the 1970s through the 70s. It was a silent war because it was kidnapping. There were disappearing people. There, they were dumping bodies and on the roads, on different areas. So the war really started way before the 80s, and I was a you know 13, 14, 15 years old when that was happening, and it was horrible because me growing up, uh, the police are out everywhere was the La Guardia Nacional, the National Guard, which those were thugs. They were mean people. They abuse people, they torture people, they didn't care. They were just and that's the excuse that the war had to get rolling because of this abuse of these different forces, army forces. And I got stories about the national guards that I saw them torture people. Like back then there was no handcuffs, and they had these nylon twine uh, pieces about that long, about a meter long. So uh, they used that to sort of handcuff the prisoners. And I saw people, being tied down with that stuff. So what they did, they make two loops with a knot in the middle to pull, and they put it on your two thumbs, and they just even put the knee on it to pull on it to make it tight. And with no time, your thumbs will be purple, like this, swelling. And that was the way they handcuff people. I saw it. I saw that. So and so I that was part of my adult life. Then I had the opportunity to come to the U.S. and you know, so El Salvador was at least 50 years behind U.S. And at that time, 1980, when I left El Salvador, I left El Salvador 1980 in January, mid-January. And just starting, the year of 80. So, I mean, El Salvador, is, still so behind U.S. They're trying to catch up. They're trying to, become a first world. But I mean, in El Salvador, there's no water treatment plants. There's so much that they need to improve to become first world. And yeah, they're doing good. Things are changing, but it's still a lot of work to be done, especially with people. Because I've been traveling the last. I stopped going to El Salvador for like 17, 18 years, and I just went back 2 years ago, first time after 17, 18 years, and people are still, the mentality, you know, all the people that were alive when I left, that I left at just turning 18, and all the people that were, 50, 40, uh, 70 years old, they're gone. I mean, now is their kids that are in their 50s, 60s, and the little kids that were little kids when I left. Uh, and so the mentality of people is still way. There's so much work. Um, and so I came to this country, to a first world country, coming from a mountain shack in El Salvador to straight to New York City, the capital of the world. Can you imagine? That's the shock. And but I was young enough, and I wanted to learn, so I wanted to assimilate. I wanted to the first thing that I wanted to was learn how to communicate, learn English, and I still have problems. I'm not all the way there, but I can communicate. So I never went to school here. I learned English by just listening, practicing, and I gave up for like 5 years. I gave up Spanish radio, Spanish TV, and I just, believe it or not, I used to watch a lot of. Uh, I mean, my time off, my days off, I watch Young and the Wrestlers, soap operas, As the World Turned, soap operas. So I watched American soap operas to pick up my English. And one by word, one by one, a word starts sticking to my head, my brain, and then I was able to carry a conversation. And of course, at work, I work in many places that there was no language, no Spanish speaking language there. It was all English. So, and I made it my job to learn. Uh, there's still people here that came to this country at the same time I did, and they're still struggling because I don't know why they don't want to learn. And But that's them and that's me. So so then, you know, I lived up, I came out of that, you know, third world country to a first world country, to the capital of the world, New York City. And basically, I tell people I was born in New York because literally I was like a child, like a baby, where I had to learn everything. I had to learn how to use a toilet, how to, use a stove, how to use a phone, how to, everything. You gotta. I'm not ashamed of this. I came right out of El Salvador, a mountain where we had no electricity, no running water, and straight to New York. and uh, and I in 1980, that's when the world started changing completely. And we went into that new phase of technology where we used to have analog TVs, tube TVs, and all of a sudden they told us like mid 80s, you know, in the 80s they said, well, you gotta throw away all your tube TVs and because you won't be able to find reception. And that's when the satellite cable came on, and you had to start paying for to see TV. Before that, you didn't pay. You bought a TV, you turn it on, you had like 5 channels, and no remote control. You every time you want to change the channel, you just got up and turned it off. And so, and that new phase of life started from there, and we got to the 90s. No cell phone, nothing. And then we got to the early, you know, to the late 90s when the cell phone started coming, and GPS. You had to buy that screen for GPS, and you connect to your phone, and then the smartphones start coming out, and so that is a different world than 80s. So all these new chapters through my life changes, and I'm sure, I still see a lot of things happening now with this AI technology and all this. I don't understand none of that, so I'm not worried about it. I guess if I have to figure it out, I will, but I'm not worried about it. And so I have so much. I'm so grateful about this country that has given me the opportunity to learn so much, to grow, to raise my family, to give my kids education that I never had chance to have, and to go through all these changes in my life. And I have embraced every change in my life. I when I was 25, I decided that I wanted to have build my family, and I started praying the Lord to help me find a wife, a partner, a good mother for my kids, and He gave it to me. And 5 years ago, He took her home, and every plan that we had planned out, our living our elderly years together went out the window, and and I'm in this new phase of my life, alone, you know, making everyday plans and every single thing. I want take care of my laundry, clean the house, everything that I had a partner for 35 years that we did together. Now I'm doing it alone, and I'm okay. I lived for I was alone in New York for 7 years, learning, figuring it out, and here I am at 65 again, full circle, alone, figuring it out, how to move forward. So just a little bit, touching my life and the U.S. and where I came from. I am I am blessed. I have 5 boys. My oldest is 38. My youngest is 23. They're all good boys, good men. We raise them well, and they're out in the world making a living, trying to build their future. And I'm here waiting for my sunset and enjoying every sunrise. Uh, every day is a blessing, and I know God has a purpose for me. That's why He has me here, and I trust in the Lord to take me by the hand all the way, you know, where He's gonna take me. And everything I have, everything I have gone through, every challenge that I went through, I never, never would have survived if it wasn't by the grace of God. So I will continue on, putting these stories on my life, little by little. I got so much. Remember, I had 65 years of stories, and I I am proud of where I come from, where I've been, and where I am, and I'm in this new venture, uh, day by day, creating this kind of content, and sharing with people. If hopefully help somebody or makes people see that life is hard. It's not easy, but it's not impossible. It's not you know not something that cannot be done. I enjoy every moment of my life because I seen death, I seen despair, I seen people destroy their life with drugs, with alcohol, and I seen people die young, people die of age, and you know when my mom died 23 years ago, that was a book that got closed. When you die, is a book that gets closed and never opens. And then my dad died like 10, 11 years ago. I don't keep track of that time. So, you know, it's I help them, I support them. Me living here, sending money to them in El Salvador to for them to live at this, fairly different life because they were old and they couldn't work and they had no other kind of support. So I was blessed with that, and they were happy because you know I never abandoned them, and I got so many stories about that one of these days, I'll make another video about when I used to go and help them at the farm in El Salvador. Because I started traveling. 1985 was the first time I went back to El Salvador. Already, have my green card, my documents. I was legal resident by 85, and then by 90s, I think by 92, I applied for my citizenship and got it. Went through all the exams and tests and became a naturalized citizen of this country. And I lived in New York many years, lived in Virginia many years. I'm here in Florida. I don't know if I might sell this property and move somewhere else. Who knows? I'm not. Life takes turns in twists and turns, so you never know. But one day at a time. Love you guys. Stay healthy, exercise, and don't give up. One day at a time. Thank you. Don't forget to follow and subscribe. And see you guys in the next one.